While relatively outdated, the British Sugar Corporation, or BSC, hosts some of the finest locomotives on British rail. Nearing an approach to complete dieselization, some may gawk at the sight of two out-of-date steam engines marshalling lengthy trains, but work they do despite this. Locomotive number 1, built in 1940 by Brighton, is the last of its class to be developed, and as such has been modified from his brethren in multiple ways. Featuring 6 small wheels, a short stumpy funnel, a short stumpy dome, and a short stumpy boiler, as well as a larger coal bunker and extended side tanks to boot, only serving to strengthen our number 1 on those long farm trips. It's remained here at Woodston its entire life, hauling wagons of beef from the farms to our factories, and couldn't be happier to do so. For why would you want to see the world when this is your world?
Alright, now shut up. You know, if there's one thing most Thomas and Friends fans have in common, it's that at some point you're likely to develop an alternate universe. And what I mean by that is you're going to have your own takes on characters, maybe scenarios. At some point you're gonna take the story and fit it to your own preferences, and it's honestly kind of inevitable, seeing as there's 3 main canons. 1, the Railway series, 2, the Model series, which was the beginning of the television series, and 3, the CGI series, which is the latter half of the television series. If you're anything like me, you like something from all 3 of these series, and you try to take things from all 3 and make your own, kinda. In some cases, maybe not even featuring any of the 3 at all. And this is something I've done for a while, but only recently have started to model, and today I thought it'd be fun to show you guys the first model of that alternate universe, coincidentally being Thomas, the number 1 engine. Now, I think it'd be fun to explain the design behind him since he is a little bit different, but also the story behind him since there's a reason for that. But I want to mention really quick, I haven't gotten too in-depth into my personal universe. It's not the most fleshed out, so expect little details to change over time and maybe certain things to get added. But for what I have now, ladies and gentlemen, this is Thomas, or at least my version, and here is why he is the way he is. I don't know what that is, that sounds scary. So, kind of like you saw in the intro, canonically, my Thomas is based on the Hudswell & Clark 1800. And though this is an E2 and the completely wrong class, I still wanted it to resemble it in some way, thus leading to his simplistic livery. But it wasn't just that inspired me. Recently, my good friend Magic Railway Studios finished a Thomas of his own that I fell in love with. That didn't feature any lining, didn't feature a 1 on the side, but still managed to be the most unique Thomas I had ever seen, and pop so well. I feel like I'm the only person who thinks this, but I think no lining and a more simplistic look makes the engines look more realistic. And while in some cases lining is definitely better, it's not something I'm crazy about myself. Not every model has to have it. And not every engine had it as well, specifically the Hudswell & Clark 1800, at least before it was Thomas. So this Thomas is very much the same. Not featuring any lining or a 1 on the side, it's just blue, with a black footplate, red buffer beams, a gray bunker which was inspired by Magic's white bunker, and a bit of airbrush weathering to discolor that blue and make it pop a bit more, which was done on the body, the cab, and the wheels, all separately but done in the same fashion so they match. The face was actually not meant to be a Thomas face. This was meant to go on the old engine, or 1020, another model that I'm working on right now. And I had 2 faces for him and ended up painting one face a little too much. I put too much primer on it and his eyes were a lot bigger than they were supposed to be. I put it to the side for a while, brought it back out, tried to repaint it, and then repurposed it for Thomas's face, and was pretty much in love with it. It feels very illustration-esque. But no proper Thomas model is complete without a number 1, and being that this is Thomas, it's pretty right that he should have one. So I decided to put those on his buffer beams. Without lining, I think it'd look a little strange on the side, and probably stick out a bit too much. So he has a slightly larger one on his back buffer beam and a super tiny one on his front. And that's how you're able to tell this is the number 1 engine. Besides the blue, of course. Now, getting into the canon I've made for this guy, the reason he is, well, the way he is because he's made to be the Hudswell & Clark 1800, just, well, an E2. And he resembles this engine quite closely, just with the timeline being brought forward a bit. Instead of being built in 1947 by Hudswell & Clark, this locomotive is built at Brighton in 1940, being the last E2 to ever be built, and because of that he features some modifications, like his extended side tanks. The engine was made to strictly work the British Sugar Corporation, or BSC, and up until modernization would do just that. pulling beet from the farms up to the factories. Well, eventually dieselization works its way to the BSC, and Thomas, being a cheeky but smart engine, knows what this means for him, and at some point he makes his escape to the island of Sodor, showing up there quite randomly and then becoming their station pilot. So this model is made to represent pre-Sodor, I guess, as to why he's so bland and sad-looking, I suppose. Like I said, this isn't very flushed out, it's not very, well, thought out either, I guess. A lot of that couldn't actually happen in real life. But there is something I've used to get around that, and it was said by the unlucky Tug quite beautifully. I don't care. We're kind of talking about trains with faces right now. It doesn't really matter if it was going to happen in real life or not. It does, however, unfortunately make Thomas quite a bit older and make his arrival to the island of Sodor much later. But to that I say, number one, Thomas was never older than Gordon in the first place. That just doesn't work. 2, it's a bit more substance than he just showed up one day and the railway decided to keep him. And 3, honestly, it's just fun, and it's something I had a blast doing, and hope to shape that story behind him a little bit better in the coming weeks. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the story of my Thomas. Definitely not the most flushed out and in need of some revisions in some places, but that is the story I've currently got going for him, and will work to develop a little bit more in the coming future. I plan to do this with all of the characters I can, especially since Bachman is really stepping up that Thomas and Friends N-scale range. So expect a Percy, hopefully a James, a Toby, all of them at some point if Bachman will let that happen. And this, ladies and gentlemen, has been the story of my little N-scale alternate universe Thomas model. So with all that being said, thanks again for watching, guys, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one. There's that sound again. Is that the Railway Series purist coming to kill me? It probably is. It probably fucking is.
Either subscribe, donate, or get the fuck out.